This is Calvin, and you're listening to KUCI 88.9 FM in Irvine. You've accessed Awoke, an experience in transformation. One thing I have to let you know is that the views and opinions expressed on this program do not necessarily reflect those of KUCI, its management, or the UC Board of Regents. To find out more about this show and others, please log on to kuci.org. Okay, you guys, we got an exciting show in store for you, and we're getting ready to take it out of storage right now. We have a young lady here named Ginzburg. Jean, how you doing?
Oh, I'm doing excellent. Thank you so much for having me on the show. I'm super excited to be here.
Okay. Jean, what I'm going to do is I'm going to read something that I posted about you, and you kind of helped me with it. But you didn't hear it, so you're going to hear it now along with the rest of the audience. Not the rest of the audience, because you're the guest. So the audience, including myself.
Excellent. I'm looking forward to hearing this.
Okay. Jean Ginzburg is a best-selling author, serial entrepreneur, digital marketing expert with more than 10 years of industry expertise, helping companies scale revenue, optimize sales and marketing processes, and improve productivity. Jean is also the CEO of Ginzburg, and her clients range from Fortune 500 companies to innovative startups. Join she and KUCI 88.9 FM's Awoke radio show host Calvin Gantt on Wednesday, December 20th, 2017 from 5 to 6 p.m. as they link the relevance of digital marketing to the negative impact of global warming. Okay. Tune in and turn up as we gain insight to yet another aspect of relativity. And that, I said relativity, and I said, well, that might be Einstein's theory, and it might not fit, but it fits to me. Things are relative, so we're going to go from there. What I'd like to do first, Jane, is to learn a little bit more about you, and so the audience can hear as well before we get started into what it is that you do. Give us just an idea of where you grew up, what happened during your childhood that might have, influenced you to do what you're doing today, and if not, what about your childhood stands out more than anything else?
Absolutely. So I grew up in Chicago,
Okay.
and we have a bit of a Chicago connection
That's
there,
right.
don't we? And we can talk about that in a little bit. But grew up in Chicago on the north side as a kid. Then I went to high school around the suburbs of Chicago.
Okay.
And after that, went to college back in the city at which I think you're pretty familiar with, in Hyde Park, which is where University of Chicago is. And I majored in international relations and public policy. So
Okay.
I definitely am using some parts of that, of my education, in my current career. So that's what I did. And then I lived in Chicago after college for a little bit. And then I moved to Denver for 7 years. And then I moved here to Orange County about 7 months ago.
Oh, okay. Why the move to Orange County?
Oh, my boyfriend got a job here in Irvine. So,
okay.
So we were living in Denver at the time, and he got a job here. So I thought this would be a good place to hang out for a few years.
That's something. My wife she was born in Syracuse, and moved here to California, then moved to Chicago. And I met her there, and she wanted to come back to California, so I came back for my wife. She was my girlfriend, now she's my wife. And then we settled here like you did, and it's just amazing that we still have that connection. And as a matter of fact, my wife, hopefully she's listening, she's in Chicago right now, doing what she does, and so there's a definite connection here. Because it's Chicago, you lived on the north side. Where on the north side?
So I lived in Lakeview, Lincoln Park.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
a couple of those neighborhoods.
Yeah. We are familiar with Lincoln Park because our daughter went to school in Lincoln Park.
DePaul?
No, high school.
High school.
Yeah. So now you got started in international relations, that kind of thing. Why was that? What spearheaded that decision to go into that particular field?
Well, that was my major in college, and I didn't really use that particular piece of my education in as my career when I started off. And so, but I really enjoyed learning about international relations. And again, like I feel like it got me to use some of that, some of the components of international relations. What I do now, client services, relationship management, really helped me, because that's what I do now. Is I founded a digital marketing agency 4 years ago. So client relations is a big part of it.
Okay. You follow baseball, football, any sport?
No, unfortunately, I'm not really much of a. I do sports myself, but I don't really follow team sports very much.
Okay. So you didn't go to a lot of Cubs games, huh?
I did went to a few, but not that many. I did. I will say that. And then I did actually go to one White Sox game
did
as
you?
well.
Okay. Now, in terms of your life in Chicago, what was that like for you?
Oh, it was great. I spent a good chunk of my 20s in Chicago.
Okay.
And I lived in the north side, so there was a lot of great areas to go to, hang out, and yeah, so it was I really enjoyed it. I mean, the winters can be a little tough there.
Oh yeah.
But being in my 20s in Chicago was awesome.
Now, your parents are from Chicago. They both of them were born and raised in Chicago.
My parents were born in Russia.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So, and then they moved to Chicago. Well, actually, I was born in Russia too.
Oh man.
So I was pretty young when I came here. So I don't. Consciously, I don't really remember much of it, so I don't really talk about it that much, just because I was still pretty young. So I think my conscious mind kind of started when I was already living in Chicago.
Okay. Now, in terms of what's going on in the world today, especially with the last election in Russia, how did that hit you, being from Russia? Did that have a special place for you?
Honestly, I've been here for so long that I don't follow Russian politics very much. I'll be honest with you.
Okay.
I mean, here and there, my parents still follow it, and they talk about. But I don't know if we should be talking about Putin on the show.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we can talk about anything we want to as long as we don't use profanity, because it's not commercial radio. So we're free to.
No,
talk
I'm
about
just if you talk about Putin, he's an interesting cat. So don't want to say the wrong words or the wrong things about him.
Okay. That's interesting that you would say an interesting cat. What that particular vernacular, because my wife is a jazz musician and that's used quite a bit. You probably picked that up somewhere in Chicago, and it just flows now without your acknowledging it or recognizing it or anything. So that's
yeah, but that is probably a jazz term, and definitely a Chicago term.
Right, absolutely. So you met your boyfriend in Denver, or?
In Denver, yeah.
Okay.
He was living in Boston. I was living in Chicago. We didn't know each other at the time, and we both moved to Denver.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean, again, we didn't know each other at the time.
Okay.
And then we met in Denver.
Yeah. That's something, because what I'm looking at right now is the fact that you're here in Irvine, and you're from Denver, actually, and before that it was Chicago. And we don't even speak about Russia because that was so long ago. Not very long, because you're relatively young, very young looking anyway. I'm not going to ask your age because I'm not supposed to. I can't do that on the air. But
no profanity and no asking your age on this show.
Air, right? Irvine is, I mean, for me, will you tell me, how do you feel about, how long you been here? 7 months, right?
7 months. I live in Newport.
Okay, that's a different story. But he works here in Irvine.
Yeah, he does.
How you like Newport compared to Denver and Chicago?
I'd say that it's coming from Denver. It's a lot different because Denver, including Denver and Chicago, I'd say are both walking cities. And here everything is a car culture.
Yeah. Okay.
So I like having the ocean close to me, but then I also miss the mountains of Colorado.
Okay. What about Lake Michigan? Did you do a lot on Lake Michigan?
I did not do that much on Lake Michigan. I loved living in the city. It was like I said, it was a lot of fun. There was a lot to do there. A lot of amazing cuisine, culture, museums, amazing music. I mean, you could anything you want in Chicago, you can find.
Absolutely. So what I'm looking at is the fact that what you do, and we're getting ready to get into that in a minute. What you do is like it's international. You can live anywhere in the world that you want to and do what you do.
Yes,
How
as
is
long
that
as
for you?
I have an internet connection and
Right.
a telephone,
Okay.
then I can do this. Anybody can do this anywhere in the world.
Right.
And I think there's a lot of people who actually do that. Like people who do something similar, probably are sitting on the beach somewhere.
Right, right. Let's say that we have some 6-year-old children listening in, and they want to know what in the world is digital marketing.
Oh, I don't know. Sometimes I think 6-year-old children will know more about digital marketing than I do.
Okay. Well, let's hear
They're
it.
so
anyway.
snappy with their phones.
Right,
They're like
right.
on Snapchat. They're doing social media. This is like ingrained in them now.
Okay,
Sometimes
okay.
I think they're a little scary when it comes to
Okay.
that. They know so much.
Yeah, yeah. But what is it? How would you describe digital
How would
marketing?
you describe digital marketing? Digital marketing is any marketing that's done online, so
Okay.
that is not done offline. So it does not include television, radio, print media, and anything else. So anything that you can do on your phone or on your computer is considered digital marketing.
Okay, okay. And so once you get on your computer and you're saying, I'm going to do some digital marketing, first thing you got to know is that marketing means, or at least my definition is, that you're trying to sell a product, and that product might be yourself. Or whatever, an idea, thoughts, those kinds of things. And so what is the advantage of doing it digitally as opposed to posting in newspapers or, television commercials, radio commercials? What's the difference in that and digital marketing?
Well, the difference now is that most of our audiences that we're trying to get to, and that could be, and marketing could be a broader sense, and it's not necessarily only just selling a product.
Okay.
It could be just engaging with an audience.
Okay.
It could be delivering content to an audience. So, but the difference is that most of our audiences, I'd say all of our audiences for the most part, are hanging out online. So that's one of the main components when I take on a new client, is that we do a customer avatar, a customer profile worksheet with them, and we review who's their ideal target market. And what we find is that where is their ideal target market hanging out? Are they hanging out on newspapers? Are they hanging out on the radio? Are they hanging out on are they watching TV, or are they on Facebook? Are they on Instagram? Are they on YouTube? So that's one of the components. But what we find is that most of them are going to be hanging out online. And again, the whole process of the sale might not take place online. It depends on what your product or your service is, but it typically starts online.
Okay. You wrote, and I want to just make mention of your book, and we're going to get to it a little later on, but it's called Win New Customers. And it's how to attract, connect, and convert more prospects into customers in 60 days using digital marketing strategies. And so basically what you're doing is teaching people or instructing people in this book how to attract customers. It was something that I read in the book, and it talked about how because of the content that's available to us online, in terms of personal information even, it's something that can be applied in terms of figuring out who and where your customers or potential customers are. How does that work? How do you do that?
How do you find the potential customers?
Yeah, I mean, what do you have, like some type of guideline in terms of, I need to know their name, I need to know if they're married, I need to know these kinds of statistics, because you said those statistics are a part of it, but there are other things that might even prove more meaningful and to the advantage of the person doing the marketing.
Yeah, absolutely. You don't need to know their name, but the other components that besides the demographic information, like their gender, their age, their geolocation, for example, you also want to look at the psychographic information and also their pain points. So pain points and frustrations are really a big point also of when I work with I'd say a new private client or a customer, because it's not just a mom in their 30s or whatnot. It's also what is the problem challenge that she's having, for example, and how does your product or service solve that for them?
Okay.
So it's important to understand those. And then everything, all the marketing and all the messaging, the communication, all of that will then feed into it. So like, as you know, what their pain points and frustrations are, your marketing messaging and your communications will then allow for that. It will be all basically woven through all of your communications and your messaging.
Okay. Now, when you first started, you talked in the book quite a bit about, not quite a bit, but a couple of pages at least, about the failures, the falling down and keep getting up, and it got to the point where you even decided, you know what, I'm not going back to where I came from. I'm not working anymore. This is what I'm going to do. What was that like for you? Because you mentioned that a lot of people talk about how successful they are now, but you never hear about the failures that they had. And that for people, I think, is very important to know that all these people have failed at some point. So how did you get through that? And why do you think it's so important to mention that in your book?
Well, I think it's important to mention that as entrepreneurs, because as entrepreneurs, we most of the time see the very positives of other entrepreneurs, and especially with social media, it becomes a little bit skewed because we only see what everybody's posting, which is, hey, I closed a round of funding, or hey, I grew my grew my company to $100 million, or hey, but nobody really, and it's very rare that people talk about their failures. But I think it's very important to mention that because it really connects us and it allows us to see that, hey, I'm not the only one who might be messing up here.
Right.
It allows us to connect better to that individual. And so I would say everybody, I don't know if there's really a person that I know or an entrepreneur or a business person that I know that has not at least had one failure in their life, because it's just the nature of the business, especially entrepreneurs. I talk about that in my book, in that I started a few companies before my agency that I'm doing now, and they did not work out well, but I learned a lot from them, and that's really the main point that I wanted to get across in my introduction of the book, is that everything that you do, whether you succeed or you fail, but if you are not successful at it, it's still a big learning lesson for you.
So everything turns out to be positive, even though it might look negative at the onset. You realize that you've learned a lot from the experience. What tell me, like, you're working, and I assume you worked in the corporate world.
Yeah, I wouldn't say probably corporate, but yeah, I mean, bigger companies, employees of 40 to several hundred people for these corporations. So yeah, I guess it would be considered corporate.
Okay, and so there is some competitiveness in the workplace.
For me right now?
No, where you were when you started out in coming out of college. You got a job and you're working there every day, and I don't know. I know it wasn't a factory. I mean, you probably had to put on some clothes, nice clothes, and put a little makeup on, or the whole bit. Get your hair done periodically, and at least, and then deal with the other people who were striving as hard or harder than you to move up. I mean, I know you didn't just go there and say, well, this is what I'm going to be for the rest of my life. So with that in mind and all that going on, what happened that said, you know what, I got to get out of this. I can't do this anymore. And or was it hard for you in terms of competition and that kind of thing, progress, moving up on the pay scale and those kinds of things? Were those hard? Was that something you paid attention to, or?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it was. It's always, in my experience, it was definitely a challenge. In terms of moving up in the ranks, proving yourself proving myself that I was adding value to my employer. Even though I felt like I was definitely adding value, but you always there's always a little bit of a battle there, right?
Right.
Because they definitely want to pay a certain amount, and you feel like you're valued at a higher amount. Right. So there's a lot of give and take there. But I learned a lot from there. I mean, that's where I started my digital marketing career, and I wouldn't be where I am if I was not where I was then. So of course, lots of learnings there. That's where I learned a lot about digital marketing in general. But eventually, I realized that I wanted to start something of my own. I think that was very important to me. I felt like I probably wouldn't want to continue working in the corporate space forever. And that I also felt like I can serve clients much better working with them directly than having an employer in kind of be the middleman. So,
Okay.
So I mean, in some ways, I am thankful for the challenges I had, for example, in the corporate space, because that's what made me want to go out and be what I am today. So it's again, it was a learning experience.
So of course you didn't go back. So I'm sure you wouldn't want to go back. But what was it? Do you think that kind of triggered you saying? I mean. It was a process, or just all of a sudden one day you said, you know what, I got some ideas. I think I want to try and implement these ideas. Did it happen like that, or was it like, over a period of time you just got tired of being that? Because that's what I did. I quit. I can't do this anymore. How did you enact that decision?
Yeah, I think eventually I would say I got tired and I felt like I could do better on my own. So that definitely was a big piece of it. And in the beginning, of course, being an entrepreneur, you never really know, are you going to make it? Are you going to get to the next level? Will I make enough money this year? Will I survive? Will I pay my rent? I mean, of course I'll survive, but in the sense, like, will I pay my rent? Will I pay my bills? Because in the beginning, a lot of it is also a learning experience, and so you're trying to getting to the next step. But eventually I figured, hey, this is working. Whatever I'm doing, it seems to be working. And so I'm not going back to the corporate world.
Okay. Now, when you were coming up, especially in college, were you like totally dependent on your parents for your well-being, or did you kind of do stuff on to help them to help you?
Oh,
financially, I'm talking about.
I absolutely did things on my own. I had a job since I was 15 years old.
Okay.
So my parents did help me when I was going to college, and they paid for part of my tuition and my room and board when I was at the University of Chicago. But I've had a job since I was 15 years old. I worked as a law clerk at a law firm.
Really?
Right outside my my high school.
Oh, wow.
And I would go there after school. Like, I think my classes would get out at 2:50, so I'd get there at 3:00, and I would file papers for them back.
Wow.
This was a long time ago.
Okay. What high school did you go to?
I went to Buffalo Grove High School.
Oh, Buffalo Grove. Okay.
Yeah.
In Buffalo Grove.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so I went to, I grew up in Buffalo Grove.
Yeah.
Through my high school years.
Right.
I grew up in Buffalo Grove.
Yeah. I think that's so important because, this is a college campus, and there's a lot of college students here. And a lot of them, I'm sure, are thinking along the lines of, I want to do something on my own, but I don't want to fail. And I know my mama ain't going to keep, taking care of me, so I need to do something. And I think that's so important because myself, that I've been working since I got a paper route. And the reason I got my paper route because my father told me that when he was my age, he had two. And when I visited his hometown 20 years later, they still didn't have a newspaper. So he just kind of coerced me into getting a job.
So that was not even a true story.
Exactly. But I found out that, I could do things independent of them, which was a boon to me because, I didn't particularly, care for everything that they did in terms of the way I looked, my dress, my, what I wanted to eat and those kinds of things. And so I think it's really important to start off like that. But if you don't start off like that, working at 15 years of age, then what do you feel it would be the impetus for you to try and do something on your own?
I think if you don't have a job at 15, which probably a lot of people necessarily don't.
Right.
But it is important to try things out when you're in college, when you're in your 20s. I'd say we're not going to know exactly what we want to do when we're still in our 20s and we're still starting things out. So I think it's important to try things out and try different careers or try different jobs maybe and see what are you liking, what's important to you, where do you feel like you can contribute and add value.
Right.
So I think people who are listening, if you're still in college, I think definitely it's going to be it's going to be some time for you to figure out what it is that you want to do.
Right. And that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's nothing wrong with that. I think this is the time to do that.
Yes, it is.
Eventually then you're going to get older, then
Right.
it's going to be, you're going to need a more stable, stable environment, family, whatever, kids. So this is the time to do it.
Okay. You have an altruistic spirit. Seemingly, I know you can correct me if I'm wrong.
Thank you.
But what writing a book for people, to help people, that kind of thing, where did that come from? I mean, who do you think you are that you can give this kind of information and advice?
Well, I've been doing this for such a long time that
Is that
I feel
right?
like I definitely have the I guess the expertise, I would say,
Okay.
to provide that kind of information. And also it's been working. That's the thing, is that it works. So I'm getting results for my clients.
Okay.
That's the other piece of it. But the reason why I wanted to write the book really is like I said, I've been doing this for a long time, 4.5 years for my clients. And
Okay.
I felt like, and of course it's been working, and I felt like, I don't want to keep everything in my head, because everything just has been in my head so far. I really want to download this into some sort of book format or some other format where people can interact with it.
Okay.
Of course, my clients are interacting with me and my head, but at the same time, there's so many people out there who can benefit from this. And so I felt, this is the time for me to download all this information, put it in a book, and then have it be available for people, so that if they're entrepreneurs, if they're business owners, this is just valuable information for them to use and to grow their business and scale.
Yeah. The reason I brought altruism up is because I think it's of utmost importance that people understand that the situation that we find ourselves in today, in terms of the things that are happening in the world, we can't make it without each other. It's just, it's gotten to the point now where it's just so obvious that we're not going to make it without each other. And along with that, people are unknowingly born into a society that reeks of individualism. It's all about me.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And it gets to the point where that's even in the family. It ain't about my mama. It's about me. Yeah. And for you to come with a different approach, because as far as I'm concerned, the majority of people that write books to be on the bestseller list. And I think you.
Yep. I was a bestseller on Amazon.
Right. And beyond that, or before that, to make as much money as I can. I want to be a billionaire selling these books. You know what I mean? And so we kind of use that we say, well, I'm doing this because I want to help people, but the real motive is not just that, because of the way we've been brought up. What do you feel that you are doing that's more about helping others and contributing to the well-being of our planet, as opposed to being famous and being rich?
I think it's just also comes down to my personality. I don't know if I don't really ever wanted to be famous or rich.
Okay.
I mean, I get by fine. I'm not, it's not an issue, because, I do have clients that, so I'm grateful for that very much. But at the same time, I just feel like watching businesses scale and watching entrepreneurs achieve their goals is just what makes me happy, and what I want to see happen. So that's really why I've been helping clients privately, and then also why I wrote the book. So it just, there's so many reasons. I mean, it fuels the economy. It makes us feel better that we're being successful at it. So there's so many positive reasons as to why somebody would, someone like me would want to help entrepreneurs grow their business. Right.
Yeah, and I think, it's exciting to me. That's why I said this is going to be a great show, because of the fact that, whether you realize it or not, or even think about it, there's not a lot of people like yourself that are doing things of this nature, because digital marketing the internet, it's all over the place. You know what I mean? And people are selling socks on the internet, doing all kinds of things, and for you to present something that can help every individual, regardless of what it is that they're doing, to benefit from it, it's just amazing that we have someone who's thinking along those lines today, and of course how that in turn is going to help the economy, you know what I mean, and help those who are less fortunate than ourselves. also have an opportunity. They can go to the library and get on the internet, you know what I mean, and possibly be successful at what they do. And so I just want to thank you for what you're doing, and tell you to keep up the good work, because it's real important, important.
And I mean, also all of this also fuels the economy and creates jobs. That's
right,
thing.
absolutely.
I mean, it's not just about having successful entrepreneurs. Of course, that's a piece of it, but at the same time, the more entrepreneur grows, the more the startup grows, the more people they hire.
Exactly.
That creates jobs for the economy. So it all fuels itself in a way.
Absolutely.
You do the marketing, you grow, you hire people. I mean, it's all an ecosystem.
Yeah, exactly.
So thank you very much. I appreciate your kind words. Yeah.
Right. And I mean them, too.
Thank you.
Let me just say that this is Calvin. You're listening to KUCI 88.9 FM in Irvine. You've accessed Awoke, an opportunity for transformation. One thing I must let you know is that the views and opinions expressed on this program do not necessarily reflect those of KUCI, its management, or the UC Board of Regents. To find out more about this show and others, please log on to KUCI.org. Okay, we're here with Ginzburg. First thing, well, you guys need to know that she's into digital marketing. I mean, she's really deep. She's so deep in it that she has a book out about it. And we're going to discuss that book right now. And, Gin, the thing that I want to do before we discuss the book is tell me, where did you get that gin ball from? What does that mean?
Oh, that's a good question. It's a kind of a play on my last name.
Okay.
It's Ginzburg and Ginball, and it's just something that my sister and I came up with when many companies ago when we were in business together. We were like, oh, this is kind of a cool name. Let's play off of our last name. So we decided to call it Ginball.
Okay, but it has nothing to do with gin or having a ball.
No. But there actually is a thing called a gin ball, which is just a round ice, like a ball of ice that you put into a gin glass.
Okay.
I didn't know that at the time, but subsequently I learned about it.
Okay.
But no, my company has nothing to do with alcohol. I don't market alcohol. I don't I don't have anything related to alcohol in my business at the time, at this point, but maybe down the line.
Yeah, you never know.
It's just a play on words.
Okay. Tell us what in this book is most important to you. What is the main objective for this book?
Well, the main objective, like I said earlier, was just to get the message across that this can be used for. I go a little bit into who this can be used for, but really all of this can be used for anybody who has a business and who is trying to scale and grow their business. So that was kind of the catalyst for this all when I got started with it. Okay.
Now you had already gotten some customers, and as I read in your bio, Fortune 500 companies and also individuals.
Yeah.
So when you first started, I mean, when you wrote the book, you had already done digital marketing to a great degree. How did that affect the writing of the book in terms of saying, well, this guy, this was accomplished by him, this was accomplished by this company, that kind of thing? Because I don't think that's in the book in terms of names of companies and how many people you've helped and that kind of thing, but just between you and I and the audience, how did you, I mean, like, what does that look like in terms of numbers? How successful have you been in terms of companies and people?
In terms of helping, how many companies have I worked with at this point? Oh, I mean, over the 11-year period that I've been doing digital marketing, it's probably been several hundred companies.
Wow. Okay.
Probably about 100 or so, maybe a couple hundred in the last 4.5 years since I've had my agency again, ranging from entrepreneurs who are maybe just one type of one person shop, and maybe they're an expert in their field, to startups, so companies that have maybe perhaps a new technology or have something new that they're offering and are looking for funding, or maybe they just got a round of funding, so a startup type of company, and then all the way to large corporations that have been around for I don't know, dozens of years, maybe even 100 years at this point. So. And it's different in the way of course the marketing is going to be different because it's different scale, but the approach is still very much the same because you're still using same strategies. You still want to be you still want to know who your ideal target market is. You still want to create content and distribute it. You still want to use social media, and so yeah, absolutely. Depending on where you are in your entrepreneurial journey, things might be a little bit different, but the concepts are still the same.
Okay, so let's say, for instance, that some big Forbes or Fortune 500 company wants to get in touch with you. They read their book. They want to get in touch with you. How would they do so? Or an individual?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. If anybody wants to get in touch with me, well, first of all, I am giving away my book for free on the show. So if anybody in PDF format, so if anybody wants to download the book, that's a good way of getting in touch with me. So you can go to winnewcustomers.online. So that's winnewcustomers.online. Just put that into your URL browser and you can download the book absolutely free and read everything that we're just talking about now. You can also get in touch with me on social media. So if you go to LinkedIn, I'm on LinkedIn. It's Gene Ginzburg, Digital Marketing Expert. If you go to Facebook, it's Gene Ginzburg, Digital Marketing Expert. Or YouTube, same thing, Gene Ginzburg, Digital Marketing Expert. So I'm happy to chat with anybody who's interested in talking about digital marketing. So feel free to get in touch.
Okay. And her name is spelled Ginz.
Yep.
Burg. Okay. Cool. I got a copy of this book, y'all, and it's autographed. You guys ain't gonna get that opportunity.
No, unfortunately not. But you will get a cool PDF version of it. You can download instantly and read it right away on your phone, on your iPad, on your computer, or print it out if you want.
Yeah, it's amazing because I love these kinds of books that have less than 100 pages. I love them. You know what I mean? Because I think so many times people say a whole lot. I mean, use a lot of words to say not a whole lot, but you've definitely condensed this to a point of very, very easy reading. And
also, I want to actually say about that because there's many things that I left out, and that's really purposefully because I did not want to. Because one of the main issues that I see entrepreneurs is that they just feel overwhelmed, and they especially feel overwhelmed with digital marketing. And so there is so much more that we can talk about or do, but at the same time, they're not always. They can be used in certain scenarios, but these points that I have in the book, they've pretty much work across the board. So that I wanted to also keep the points that I know will help, but at the same time exclude the ones that. I mean, there's many things you can do depending on where you are, again, in your entrepreneurial journey, how big your company is, that you can use. But at the same time, it might not always be applicable depending on where you are. So, but I wanted to exclude a lot of things because I wanted to make sure that this was applicable. Okay.
And then probably you're going to learn about the stuff you excluded anyway if you continue to be, to follow your path.
Yep.
I'm just, I love these titles of the chapters. Chapter 1, I don't have the time for digital marketing. That caught my eye. And I am not tech savvy. My business is different. I don't need digital marketing. Things like that make you want to read the book. And then when you pick it up and read a little bit of those passages, it's some important stuff. Like customer profiles, product offering strategies, content strategy, Facebook advertising, and those kinds of things. And it makes it really simple to do this. But I would like, I'm going to put you on the spot here. I would like for you to tell me and my wife how we're going to market these T-shirts.
Okay.
We came up with an idea, and I'm sure it's been done before, about T-shirts that have something clever on the front, but you got to look behind the person to see what's on the back, that kind of thing. And just little things like, one of the T-shirts I have is it doesn't even come to mind, but it's something about don't bother me because I'm right. Forget it. It's a clever saying, whatever it is. But I'd like for you to just give us an idea of how Nicole and I would go about marketing these T-shirts.
Sure. Do you already have a website for these T-shirts, or this is all
No, this is all
new?
brand spanking new.
Okay. So I would say first you probably want to get some social media engagement.
Okay.
Well, before we even get into that, but first we want to, of course, talk about the ideal target market, right?
Right.
Who is your ideal target market? Who do you think would be buying these T-shirts, and do you think are they hanging out? Are they Are they on the radio? Are they on Facebook? Are they on YouTube? Are they on Instagram?
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe they're watching TV. So those are also going to be, of course, the important pieces as we want to better understand who the ideal target market is.
Okay.
And then we want to understand why would they want to buy a T-shirt like that.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Okay.
Because we talked about pain points and frustrations earlier, but at the same time, not everything is going to be a pain point and frustration, right? For the most part, it will be when you have a product or service, but in this case, it's not, because this is just a fun T-shirt, right? So why would they want to buy a T-shirt like that?
Okay.
So and then we want to address all of that within our messaging, within our communications, within social media, within our content. So the next step would then be to create content, and then it could be. There's so many ways you can do that. You can do videos. You can do quirky images.
Okay.
And then disseminating that, I would say, across social media. So if people are starting to like what it is that you're doing and the content that you're providing, then they'll start engaging with you. They'll start sharing it. They'll start retweeting it if, let's say, you're on Twitter. So that's the way to do that, I would say, if you're just getting started.
Mm-hmm.
And over time, you'll start seeing engagement, and then I would retarget those individuals who have already engaged with you.
Okay.
So yeah, I'd say that's a good way to get started.
Yeah, that's something. Nicole, I hope you're writing this down. But we're gonna read the book, so we'll get the pertinent information. I want to take you to another scenario, and that is what I've been doing this for probably 3 months now.
Mm-hmm.
Really focusing on our global situation.
Okay.
And I know that a lot of people feel that there's nothing that they can do in terms of their carbon footprints, let's say, and what you're doing with this digital marketing is definitely reaching, a lot of people for others, and of course, people are benefiting from it. Millions of people, because if you're seeing that many, or if you talk that many companies, that many individuals, millions of people are, aware of this information.
Lots of eyeballs.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I would like to look at this from the perspective of how do we get people involved in the problems that we're facing now, like my mother, for instance. I tell her, like the thing you can do, and when you get to the stores, don't drive around and look for a spot. Just park and get out and walk. It's good exercise, those kind of things. And she's been doing this anyway, because she taught aerobics for till she was 79, so it's not going to be a problem for her. But for people that are really trying to do something, I think that you can really be an asset to that, and you already are without even attempting to do that. But I want a purpose to do it in my life. That's why I'm so excited about you being on the show, because I think people need to hear about digital marketing, in terms of how it can be applied to the situations that we're faced with, And do you think about these things in terms of your everyday life, in terms of how much longer we got on this planet? The oceans are full of plastic, and the air is not clean, all these kinds of things. In terms of relating it to what you do you ever give that any thought?
Absolutely, of course. I think about that all the time from a personal level. But one thing I can say about digital marketing is that it is saving the planet in some capacity, because we're not using paper.
That's right. Okay.
So there's definitely a direct correlation between digital marketing and saving the planet. Now, I don't know about the air necessarily, or I don't know about necessarily there is definitely a component of the carbon footprint, right? Because if we're not using paper, then we are not using, methods to create the paper, energy to create the paper, and then distributing the paper. Mm-hmm. So there is, we are saving the world a little bit. By using
a great bit.
So there's definitely a component there. I don't know how it would necessarily relate to maybe otherwise the carbon footprint, or using energy, using gasoline, plastic. But these things I definitely from a larger perspective, going outside of digital marketing, if we were to just talk about the real world out there, of course we're all on this planet, right? And we're all together, and we all have to work hard to make sure that this planet is still alive in the next 100 years, the next 1,000 years, however long our species will be here, and hopefully it'll be here for a long time, right? Because we don't. Because we have children and their children's children and so on and so forth. So we want to keep this planet safe and available, and the resources available for all the future generations, right?
Okay, yeah. Because I interviewed a guy last week, and it was amazing that I come out from interviewing him. It was a phone in, and you're sitting there, and I don't know you from Adam, but just something I don't know what happened, but I said, she needs to be on the show. What are you doing? Because I thought you were a student here as a DJ, that you were getting ready to get a radio show or something. I didn't know that you were waiting, to be interviewed.
Yeah, we can talk about that. How do we meet? We met a week ago here at KUCI. I was on a different show. I was being interviewed by Ash Kumra on the Entrepreneur Nation show. Yeah. And we got to talking before the show, and then you invited me to be here. So, and we had that Chicago connection.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah, that's it. Because you gave me your phone number, and you were like 773. I was like, oh, I have a 773 number too.
Exactly. Yeah. And so what this guy does is retrofitting houses. And I don't know if you're familiar with that, but basically it's about saving as much energy as you possibly can.
I have heard of retrofitting houses, especially in California.
Oh yeah, it's big in California. It's big, and as a matter of fact, he's a part of that bigness, But he told me about how a house. There are two houses in Germany that he took a look at, and one of the houses he looked at them somebody looked at them with an infrared light, and one of them was orange, bright orange and red, and the other one was blue. And what that said was that a lot of energy was leaving that house. A lot of heat, and
so it wasn't very energy efficient.
It wasn't energy efficient. But the blue house, nothing was leaving there, so it was very energy efficient. And from that, he, decided that that this thing works. This retrofitting does work, and it works to the degree where everybody should be made aware of it, and that's why he came on the show. But aside from that, I was at a conference with him. That's where I met him, and there was another guy who was talking about that someplace here in California, high scale place, environment, and they built 150 new houses. Not one of them had a solar panel.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, wow. And so it's still for me anyway, stands to reason that people are just not aware of the importance of energy and how it's going to help us to survive, and that kind of thing. And when you said digital marketing, I said, wow, I could market that information. You know what I mean?
There's a business idea right there.
Yeah, and so and just from what I've garnered from you. Just in this short period of time, I mean, it's a lot of information. Like selling T-shirts, and just for me anyway, I have a pretty big family. You know what I mean? And I don't know. I've done marketing. Quite a few experiences in marketing, and they always say that if you can get your family to buy your stuff, you've really hit a high in place, because it's hard. But I was just thinking. My family, a lot of us anyway, talk to each other without seeing each other, without verbal communication. I called my sister last week because she posted something on Facebook that I saw. I said, oh, I wonder if she needs my help. So I called and said, no, I don't need your help. I was just, venting kind of thing, But even, I mean, with selling things to family and friends and that kind of thing, I've just found out that what can be done is that you find out who is going to pay attention to whatever it is that you're posting, right? And you can do that by posting it. And if you get some likes and that kind of thing, then you can use that as a means or a start of taking it further,
Absolutely.
And that's just from our conversation right now. I've glanced at portions of the book, but I haven't read it. But I know I'm going to read it because there's a lot of information in here. And I want to just say that I think that it took me a long time. I don't know about anybody else, but it took me a long time to get where I am, Gene, in terms of this technology. You know, I used to go to the bank with my check, you know, and cash my check and put the money in my pocket. You know what I mean? And
Cash.
I'd leave, and then I'd leave enough in the bank to pay the bills, but the money that's not paying the bills, it's going in my pocket. So the teller one day says, "Mr. Gantt, you know, we've had direct deposit for 20 years. When do you think you might?" I said, "No, I just like holding on to my money.
I want to have a wad of cash in my pocket. I'm not keeping it. I don't trust the banks."
Right. And so now I'm at a point, all my bills I paid online. Everything I do just about is online. So I finally succumbed to technology in the understanding that this is the way. You know, and coming to that understanding and meeting you is, I mean, I'm just so excited about what it is, the potential is for me in terms of what it is that I'm doing here at the station, and in my blogs and that kind of thing. So for you, in doing what it is that you do and being excited about the response that you're getting in terms of people becoming successful and businesses, you know, changing for the better and that kind of thing, how far, I mean, where do you go from here? You know, you just keep doing this. You write more books, or what?
Yeah.
What do you see in later on in life? Because I'm seeing a lot of stuff just from talking to you. You know, I'm seeing a lot of stuff
for me.
What
do you see? Oh, in your future.
Yeah.
What do you see in your future?
Yeah.
What are you seeing in your future?
I'm seeing a lot of things in terms of response, in terms of people beginning to understand the seriousness of our situation. You know, because it's not going to be about getting people to do something that they don't want to do, because I'm going to be able to discern who wants to be involved and who doesn't want to be involved, you know, and other things that I'm going to be learning. And so I see something really big, because every time I interview somebody, I get some more information that needs to go online, that needs to be digitally marketed. And so I'm seeing, it's big, it's real big, you know. And again, I thank you for being on and bringing us this information.
Oh, absolutely. I am glad that it's helpful and valuable for you and for our audience.
Right. But again, I'm asking you the question: where do you go from here?
There's a lot of things I've been thinking about lately. Well, the next step is so I have the book, but I also want to create a digital course. So this is a good start. The book is a start, but it doesn't have all of the components in there. Like I said earlier, you know, it is. I wanted to keep it short. But the next step is to create a digital course that is similar to the book, but it just has a lot more information. It's longer, and it has videos and audios and worksheets and workbooks. And it's just more in depth. So for people, for entrepreneurs or companies or business owners that want to do this either themselves or have an in-house team who does marketing and wants to learn how to grow and scale a business, and that's the next step. That's what I'm working on now, and that's what's going to be happening in 2018. But in the future, I also see writing more books. Absolutely.
Is that right?
I think, this was a great experience for me. So this book came out in September of 2017, and it's been a few months. I've gotten amazing feedback about it. And it's just been a roller coaster ride. I mean, a good roller coaster ride. But yeah, I see myself writing more books and just, but doing the same thing. I want to continue on helping entrepreneurs and companies and business owners, because again, I think it's important.
Yeah, it is. It's very important.
Yeah.
When you get up in the morning, are you excited about getting up in the morning?
I am. I do like to take my time in the morning. I'll be honest with you. I don't jump out of bed and start doing work right away. I think it helps me kind of get myself centered for the rest of the day. If I get up, I do some stretching, I do some yoga. So I do have a routine that I try to stick to in the mornings. I play with my dog in the morning.
What kind of dog you got?
I just got a dog in September as well. So literally published my book 3 days later, got a new dog. I have, he's a rescue, and he is an Australian cattle dog mix. Yeah, so he's about 25 pounds. He's a little guy, but so cute and adorable. And
what's his name?
Faden.
Now, where do we get that from?
So it means fox in Welsh.
Oh,
and he
okay.
looks like a little fox because he's got big ears.
Okay. That's something. I think the reason I'm asking you that is because I worked all my life. I was an entrepreneur in some arenas that we ain't even going to discuss here. But
you should talk about that. What have you done in your previous lives?
Like I said, I did a lot of I forgot what they call it. It's multi-level marketing.
Oh,
did a lot of that.
Yeah.
Worked at Ford Motor Company for 28 years.
In Chicago or
in Chicago Assembly Plant. Yeah, and started off on the line. And while on the line, I sold 25-cent bags of candy. And
side business.
And got into went back to school. I did drugs for a long period of time.
Okay.
And so in the course of doing drugs, I had to do things to support my habit and that kind of thing. And so always having this entrepreneurial spirit, but a lot of things going in the wrong direction. And sometimes we find out that we are entrepreneurial, but have not applied it to that particular situation, because I took an idea to the company in terms of how I felt that we need to involve the people more in the process of the manufacturing of the car, because a lot of times the guys that's putting 600 fan belts on the car knows a lot more about it than the college guy that you got up there on the computer trying to figure out why it doesn't fit the way that it should and those kinds of things. And that's marketing. It ain't digital, but it's marketing, trying to convince, so in the course of doing all of that, I realized that I was doing something in terms of helping others to accomplish goals that would benefit everybody, not just myself and them, but everybody. And in looking at what it is that you're doing is the same principle, but now I've realized that I've been doing this not digitally, but doing this all my life. And whenever we hear words like entrepreneurship, the first thing that pops up is money. But that's not necessarily the case,
No,
and I think it's and I'm as I said again, good to hear you and to talk with you, because I think it's so important that we understand that everything ain't about money and everything ain't about me. You know what I mean? And the more we integrate that into our lives and our way of thinking, I think the better the world will be.
Oh, absolutely. And that's one of the things I talk about in the book as well, is that when I talk to businesses, it's like, oh, it's about me, it's about my product, it's about my service, but it's like, it's not. It's actually about your target market, your customer, your prospect. It's about how are you helping them. It's not like, me, I want to sell my product. Yeah, we all want to be, but we want to add value. I mean, the idea is, and that's what I talk about again in the book, is that we want to add value first. We want to share with the prospect, the customer, whatever, the individual, and then they will come to us eventually.
Right.
So that's definitely a key component of that I feel entrepreneurs are making as a mistake, is that they're just like me.
Right. And another thing which you've pointed out to me, and maybe not purposely, but entrepreneurship is not just about selling products.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And being your own person, your own business person, that kind of thing. It's about giving through your product to other people.
It's about solving problems. It's about helping people solve problems, right? Because that's really why we've created these products or services or whatnot, because people have a need and they're trying to solve for something, and that's how you're able to help them.
Right, absolutely. Gene, I just want to thank you again for being on the show. It's been an hour, believe it or not, but we got to...
Can't believe it's been an hour. It's been wonderful. Thank you so much for having me on the show. And again, if anybody wants the book, absolutely free PDF version, go to winnewcustomers.online.
Winnewcustomers.online. And that, you heard that from the horse's mouth. That's Jean Ginzburg, who wrote the book. And you've been listening to her for a short period of time, and there's a lot more. If you like what you heard, there's a lot more in this book. And I'm going to be speaking on this again at some point in our broadcast. Gene, thank you so much. And all I can say to you is keep being yourself and keep doing what you do.
Absolutely. Thank
Yeah.
you very much for having me on the show. It's been a pleasure.
Okay, and tell your boyfriend I said hello and pet the dog.
I
for
think
me.
he's listening to
Oh,
this.
is he? Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, ma'am, how you doing? Okay. I want to thank all you guys for tuning in. And I want you to stay tuned because my guy is coming on, DJ Marmar, and he's going to be bringing you fine instrumentality. And all the stuff he plays is instrumental, but if you listen very closely, you'll definitely get a message. Okay, as always in parting, I'll holla.